Hey, what's up everybody? Clayton here with Go Analytics, and today we're going to do a full overview of Power BI Desktop. So let's get started. Hey, welcome to our YouTube channel. If you're finding us for the first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications to stay up to date with all of our latest videos. And today's video, I'm really excited about this one. This is for everybody that's just getting started with Power BI, and you might have downloaded the Power BI desktop and you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So we're going to go step by step, walk you through the Power BI desktop application. So let's head on over to my laptop and I will show you the ins and outs of Power BI desktop. So let's get started. All right, so here we are in Power BI desktop. So when you first open the application, you should be seeing something similar to this, although depending on which version of Power BI desktop you're using, it may look a little bit different. But based on the latest version, this is kind of what you're getting into. You've got a couple options right up here, so you can start a blank report, or you can start by connecting to some data sources, and Microsoft put in some of the main ones here, but also the ability to click on get data from other sources to connect to a different data source that might not be Excel, SQL Server, or OneLake. We also have the ability to see some of the reports that we worked on recently over here, as well as reports that have been shared with me, so you can toggle that and navigate to a report fairly quickly. From this page, you also have the ability to open a report from this button here, as well as get right into some options and settings in Power BI Desktop. So I'm going to open up a report that I was working on recently, and then we can take a look at what that looks like. All right, so I have this report that I was working on recently, and this is essentially what you'd be getting into when you're working with Power BI Desktop. So let's take it one step at a time. So what we're looking at here is what's called the report view, and there's three main views within the Power BI Desktop application. So we've got the report view, and those can be toggled right up here. So in the report view, you see the canvas, which is where you add all of your data visualization. And you also see the ribbons on the right-hand side here, which we'll talk about just in a minute. If we go over to the next view here, we have the table view. So this is just a great view to inspect some of your data. So you'll notice that on the right hand side we have a data well here that shows our tables, and we can expand that to see all of the columns and any measures within this table, as well as being able to inspect the data right in here. So I can take a look at the data. I can do some filtering if I'm testing something. So I can come in here and filter this data down, and this is one of those ways that sometimes it can be useful to test some of your DAX measures. So you can come here in the table and summarize some of this data. So you can do all sorts of filtering from this view here. And then the third view is our model view. So the model view shows us our tables and any data connection that we have, or any relationship that we have between our tables. So in this report, it's very simple. We have a table of our world population, and we have a table that has our country flags. And so we have a simple connection here based on the country code, which we then use in our model. So going back to the report view, let's take a look at the panes on the right hand side. So this is, in this view, the main meat and potatoes of this view here is really the canvas, which is where you would add your visualization. But on the right hand side here, we have by default 3 different panes. So I'll expand the first one here. The first one is our data pane. So our data pane here shows all of our data tables and our columns. So when we're working with data visualization, we're going to be working with these columns and any measures that we add in here as well, so we can drag and drop into the canvas. The next one here is our visualizations pane. So this is where all of the magic really starts. So as you can see here, we can view all of the default visualizations, which Microsoft does give us quite a few options. We have bar charts, we have column charts, line charts, area charts, some XY scatter plots, some mapping visualizations, tables, matrix, data cards, slicers, all available to us here, as well as some more advanced like Power Automate and Power Apps that can be integrated into Power BI reports as well. And you'll notice here, that there's not too much going on at the bottom here. That's because we haven't selected any visuals. So if we had a visual selected, for example, I've got this map here. So if I click on this map, then we will notice that we have a couple of options here. So we have our location, which tells the map where our geography is. And we have a color saturation based on the population. So that's how we get this map in there. So this is the setup of this visual. So, and it looks different depending on what type of visual we're on. So if I select this table here, for example, now you'll notice that, it's a simple table. So we have just a bunch of columns, and I've added all of those in here. But what you can do from the visualizations pane as well is not just setting up your visual in terms of adding data. What you can also do is format it to look exactly how you want it. And that is done from the format your visual view. So if I toggle back into, this area here, you'll notice that now we have a different view here that allows us to really customize our visual that we've selected. So right now I've selected this table. So there's several features that we can do here for formatting. So we can change the fonts and the size of the fonts and color for each of our data, as well as column headers. We can specify conditional formatting, we can add spark lines, we can add images, and so on. And this is all very custom to what visual you're looking at. So if I, for example, now flip over to our map, you'll notice that the format options are much different. So we have the ability to format our map here. We have our world map and how we want it to be projected and so on. And we have the ability to zoom in or not zoom in, and our fill colors. And if I toggle over into this card visual here, you'll notice that we have, again, different set of formatting options. So we can format that visual to our liking. Now, if I click out of that visual, out of any visual, so right now I haven't selected anything, and I go to the format pane, this is where we would set up our page. So we do have another video that we did on how to set up your report pages, and by doing this, by not selecting any visuals, you can set up your canvas background, any page information like the name of the page, any settings, so you can select different sizes and so on. So if you want to get a really detailed overview on setting up your report pages, check out our other video on that topic. But essentially, this is a very familiar view if you're used to Microsoft products where you have the pane. And our third default pane here is our filter pane. So this is where we can add filters to our visuals, to our page, or to the entire report. So if I select this map again here, you'll notice that we have three different layers of filtering that can be applied. So we can apply filters on this visual, on this page, or on all of the pages. So that's a very important thing to note when you're trying to add filters using the filter pane. Now, in Power BI, you have the ability to use the filter pane, and you have the ability to add filtering by using the slicer visual. For example, here we have this visual that allows users to select a country. And again, we do have another video that talks about when to use the slicer versus when to use the filter pane. So I recommend you watch that video if you're interested in the pros and cons of using either method. There's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on what type of user experience you want to give or what type of limitation you want to put on your users. Now, these are the three default panes in here, but we do have additional panes that can be toggled on from the View tab. So if I hover over here to the View tab, you'll notice that our filters is selected by default, but then we have 4 additional ones. We have Bookmarks, Selection, Performance Analyzer, and Sync Slicers. So let's take a quick look at each of these. So we won't go into deep detail into this one, but let's go into the bookmarks. So when I open up the bookmarks, it allows me the ability to add or view any bookmarks. So I don't have any bookmarks set up for this report, but I could add it in here. And bookmarks, just to give a very brief explanation, what bookmarks are is a way for us to change visualizations within our report. For example, if there was, if I wanted a filtered version of this map, I could add let's say we wanted to show just each continent separately. So I could have a North America view, I could have a South America view, Europe, Africa, Asia, for example, and be able to use buttons to toggle between those continents. So with bookmarks, we'd be able to do that. And the next one here is our selection pane. So our selection pane shows every single element that is in this report right now. So it'll show us any shapes that we have, any card visuals, tables, any grouping of visuals. So everything that we see here can be seen from the selection pane here. And we also have the ability here to get really neat with our elements. So those with a design background and will be very familiar with the whole layering of visuals, but essentially here we can drag and drop to see what we want to be on top, what we want to be on the bottom, as well as the ability to hide things. And this is very useful, for example, when we're trying to use bookmarks. So we can hide or show things based on our bookmarks. So here, as you can see, I can hide or show that title. Now, the next one here is our performance analyzer. So this is useful if you're trying to see what is taking a while to load in your report. So you can start recording of your interactions with this report, and you'll notice what is taking the longest time so that you can improve that. And finally, the last one here is our sync slicers, which allows us to click on a slicer and determine whether we want to sync that with other pages or not. So in this case, we only have the one report page, so we don't see additional pages. But if we had multiple pages, we would be able to see and determine whether we want to sync this slicer with the other pages or not. All right, so now we've talked about the panes here. We've talked about our different views. The last thing I want to show you here is this footer section that we have down here. So and in the footer, the main thing that you're going to notice is this is where we have our report pages. So as you can see, I have this overview report page, and I have the ability to create a new page right from here, as well as, let's say I wanted to start from this page, I can right click here and duplicate this page. I can also rename it later on. So if I have a duplicate, I can rename it something else and then change anything about that page that I want. Now the last important thing here is these two little icons. So this is the ability for us to flip over between desktop view, which is what we're viewing right now, versus a mobile layout view. So let's click on that. And this is where we can essentially set up a mobile optimized view for the Power BI mobile application. So this is a very key important distinction, is that this optimization only applies to the Power BI mobile app, not to a report that you publish to the web. So publishing to the web and optimizing it for that view is something a little bit different. But in this case here, this is specifically to the mobile application, whether that be on iOS devices or Android devices and so on. This is what this view is for, so you can move your visuals in a way that is much easier for a user to scroll on their mobile versus the pinch and zoom experience that you would experience if you don't optimize your report. All right, so the last thing here is to take a look at our ribbon. So those of us that are familiar with Microsoft products, this should look very familiar here. So we have the ribbon up top and different tabs within the ribbon, and within each tab we have different functionality. So we can, for example, open up our file here to save, get data, import, export, and options and settings. We have our home tab, which allows us to get some data from key sources, as well as any of the, I think it was around 174, 180 different data connectors that are currently available. So you can get data from a lot of different sources here. You can open up the Power Query editor from the transform data, as well as change your data source settings, refresh your data. You can add some quick visuals from here. You can add some measures and quick measures. And this is also where you would go to publish your report to the Power BI service. Over on the Insert tab, this is where you can add elements to your report page. So you can add a new page. You can add new visuals, including some of the AI visuals here, some of the integrated Power Platform visuals. You can add other elements like text box, shapes, images, buttons, and so on. Over on the Modeling tab, this you can edit and manage your relationships within your data model. You can start a new measure from here. You can create new columns, and you can create new calculated tables. You can also add parameters and manage security roles here, as well as setting up the Q&A visual from these options here. The View tab, we've already seen this previously. From the View tab, we can set up a theme as well as import a custom theme. So you can use some of the pre-designated themes that Power BI comes loaded with, but you can also browse for your own theme, which is a JSON file. You import that, and then you'd have your brand colors and any other specifications that you have on that. You can change your page view, how your page is supposed to scale. Again, you can also view the mobile layout from here. You can toggle different things like grid lines, snap to grid, and lock objects from here. And like we saw before, this is where you can show or hide some of the additional panes on the report view. Our optimize tab is meant for optimizing the performance of our reports. So here we can pause and refresh visuals. We can also get into the performance analyzer from here, as well as using the apply all slicers button. So in some cases where you want to give your users a lot of slicer options, it might be a little bit slow for them to, as soon as they change their slicers, the data is going to update. So we can actually wait until the user makes all of their selections in all of the slicers and then click apply slicers so that it loads all at once. Again, this is just looking at performance and trying to create a really good user experience. The last tab here is our help tab, and this you can get some information. You can go to links on documentation as well as training videos. You can go directly to the Power BI community and the Power BI blog if you have questions, and you can also find consultants if you're struggling, which is where Go Analytics, we're one of those consulting services that we can help you get your reports up to speed as well as improve any sort of performance. So that's a general overview of the Power BI desktop application. So there is a lot of options in here, and there is a lot of ways for us to keep our reports and format our reports exactly to the way that we want them to look. So that's it. That's the Power BI desktop application in a nutshell. There's a lot of features built into it, but it should feel fairly familiar if you're used to other Microsoft products. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, and we'll see you in the next video.